instructions on how to create your very own abstract version of the Madison City skyline. So before we begin, why don't we go ahead and go over all of our materials. In your Arty Party kit, you should have received a large piece of watercolor paper. It's nice and thick. This is going to be our background. We'll have some smaller pieces of watercolor paper that has been cut into shapes. These are going to be puzzled together for some buildings later. We will need oil pastels, glue stick, a little bit of salt, a water cup with a paintbrush, some watercolors, and last but not least, we'll be using a little bit of this flowy, beautiful, and incredibly delicate gold leaf. All right, everybody, so to begin this project, you're going to need your large piece of watercolor paper as your background and your oil pastels. And basically what we're gonna do is we're going to fill this up with whatever designs that we want to. So this one here happens to be a daytime Capitol skyline scene. Maybe you want to make yours more of a nighttime scene, or you can even just go in with your pastels and just create a bunch of different designs, whatever feels good. I think I'm gonna go ahead, I really like the idea of bright sunshine, so I'm gonna make mine another sunny landscape. So I'm gonna go in with my pastel. I'm gonna start just by drawing a circle here. Nice bright sun. And then maybe I'll fill in a little bit of space with my pastel, color in some of this orange. One thing that's super cool about oil pastels is they layer really well. So after you add one color, it might be a good idea to add another color just to give it a little bit of dimension. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and actually add a little bit of yellow into my sun now. And you'll notice the more that you kind of go over your pastel strokes, the smoother everything blends together. It's kind of like butter. It smooths really, really well. Maybe I'll even go in with my white on top just to give everything a nice finish blend. Awesome. I think now I'll go in and I'll add some rays to my sun. I can just make some zigzags or even just lines kind of going in that radial motion. So I'm gonna go all the way around, and I think I'll even layer more colors on my sun rays as well. So you can see how everything kind of smoothly blends together. But I'm not quite done with my background just yet. I think I want some clouds. So I'm gonna go in with my pastels now, and I'm gonna draw just some kind of puffy shapes here and there to create some of my clouds. Now, one thing to keep in mind, a lot of our buildings are going to kind of cover the bottom of our landscape. So if there's something in your background that you really want to shine, maybe put it more towards the top of your paper so that anything that gets covered up can still kind of peek through. But anyway, back to my clouds. And even with this, I'm gonna add a little bit of white to it. We are going to paint our background with our watercolors. So one cool thing is that whatever designs that we make with our oil pastels are really gonna pop through all of our watercolor paint. All right, so I'm gonna go in. And you can add as many fun colors and things as you want. I think I wanna show a little bit of wind, a little bit of movement now. So I'm gonna go in with some purple for fun. I like some purple wind, purple rain. I'm just kind of going in, drawing some swirls. So you can see where I'm at so far. And honestly, I'm feeling pretty good about this. So I think I'm gonna go ahead now and I'm gonna get started with my watercolor paints. Okay, so I'm using my paintbrush and I'm adding just a little bit of water directly into my paint color of watercolors to kind of charge it up a little bit. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna do some nice long brush strokes back and forth to start to fill in all of the sky. And as you're painting, it might be fun to kind of just switch up your shades. You can do different shades of blue. Maybe you want to go in with all sorts of colors and make it look more like a little bit of a sunset. And as you're painting, you're gonna notice that all of those designs you made with your oil pastels are starting to pop through all of the paint. So now that I've gone in and I've got a good section of my sky painted here, I'm gonna go ahead and I wanna add a little bit of texture to this. And we're gonna do that with some salt. So while your paint is still wet, you can take a little pinch of salt and just go ahead and put that directly on top of the watercolor paint. And after you put that little pinch on there, go ahead and leave it. We're just gonna let it sit on there until everything is dry. And we're just gonna kind of keep repeating this process of doing a little bit of painting, a little bit of salting, and then we'll just keep going until we get all the way through our whole background. Maybe I'll flip it over so you can see. And one thing to keep in mind, the longer that you swirl your paintbrush in your watercolor, the darker that the paint is going to be since you've got extra pigment on your brush. And then the more that you kind of water that paint palette down, then the lighter your color is going to be. So going in now, adding a little salt. Can kind of find a nice rhythm of what feels good, going back and forth between the paint and the salt. And your paper may start to curl up on you a little bit. That's okay. It's just kind of the natural thing that happens when you add the water. A little tip is if you happen to have any masking tape at home, you could actually tape down your background and then it's not going to move so much on you. I'll add my final pinch of salt. And now that I'm all the way through having my background nice and painted, I'm gonna go ahead and set it aside to dry. And then we will get started on all of our buildings. All right, so in front of me, I have all of the different cutout pieces of watercolor paper. These are going to be all of our buildings. What I'm gonna wanna do first is kind of identify just a couple of these pieces for the Capitol building. So, you'll notice on my example here, our Capitol building comes in a few different pieces. We've got this long rectangle at the bottom. We have one that's slightly shorter in the middle. We have our dome piece here. And then we have a cube and kind of this organic shape on top that's going to be our golden lady. So I'm gonna find all those pieces right away and kind of stack them up just so I know how they're gonna fit together in the end. So I have my dome piece here. I have my bottom Capitol piece, my middle Capitol piece that is slightly shorter. And then my dome will fit on top of those two pieces like so. And then I'll have my little cube and my nice organic shape that is going to be the lady of the Capitol. So what I need to do is go in with my oil pastels and I can design this any way that I want to. I'm even gonna go in after that and create designs on all of these quote unquote skyscraper buildings that are going to be with my skyline as well. So just to give you a few ideas here, we have things like swirls, zigzags, cubes. You could even do curved lines, polka dots. brick shapes, literally anything applies here. So go ahead and grab a piece and have fun with it. I'm gonna go ahead now and get all of my designs done. Okay, so all of my building pieces have been covered with different various oil pastel designs. I did save one little piece for last, and that is that small organic shape that's going to be the kind of golden lady topper for our Capitol building. So at this point, you can get out that little sheet of gold leaf, and I'm going to tell you how you can attach it to our tiny organic shape. Usually there's like a gold leaf paste, but we're going to use a glue stick. So you can take your glue stick and you can just cover up the whole shape with glue. And then I'm going to take my little sheet of gold leaf and I'm just going to very carefully set this piece on top and just kind of make it so it sticks on really well. Chances are if there's glue on your fingers, this gold leaf might stick, but that's okay. And then you can just kind of gently pull off the excess gold leaf. Or if you have a paintbrush, you can actually take your paintbrush and just brush the excess gold leaf off like this. And then you have your super shiny Capitol Lady topper. And if you have any extra gold leaf, which you will, you can go ahead and you can add this to any other areas of your picture that you want to. But what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and we are going to paint all of our pieces so that they're nice and solid. Everything is pretty much painted, except I did not paint the Capitol pieces because I wanted them to stay mostly white. And then the last couple steps, we're just gonna get this painted and then glue everything together. So all my building pieces have been painted, decorated, and they're nice and dry. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna grab my background and I'm gonna start to assemble everything together. You can rub off any of the excess salt on your background to give you a nice smooth surface for gluing. And then I would go ahead and I would actually start with your Capitol building pieces. And we're gonna wanna glue these down first so that any of our remaining buildings we can just puzzle along the sides like this. one. So once all your pieces are glued down, it might be a good idea to turn it over and just go over it with your hands so that everything sticks really, really well. And then you should have some sort of version of this. So thanks for tuning in on how to create your own abstract capital skyline. And we can't wait to see what you make at home. Bye.